What's going on, everybody? This is Nick and Jonathan with another episode of Bids and Banter, your go-to place for real estate conversations, current events, and just your favorite people BSing around.
Yeah, I like that. We'll work on the opening line. That was his first try. Mine will be on the next episode, and it's going to be way better than that.
Yeah, well, I hope so, because that just was off the cuff.
No, man.
That was off the cuff.
We got to find something.
So today we are
yeah.
going to be talking about, in our bids portion, home ownership and building wealth in America, and then our banter. Jonathan is going to surprise us with what we're talking about. So I don't really have an idea, but Jonathan will ask the question.
Yeah.
So jumping right into it. So today we're going to be talking about why leveraging real estate as a wealth building tool is a good idea. I know there are torn sections. Don't buy a home. It's not good for building wealth. Here's the reason why. Cash flow is everything. Automate everything. And the other side is real estate is one of the greatest drivers of wealth. You should invest money into real estate, even if it is just your own home. And what sort of returns people have been seeing, especially recently with first-time home buyers, and how sometimes it can be looking at how difficult it is to become a homeowner in today's market and economic.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think this probably will be tailored more towards those first-time home buyers, right? Because I think, generally later in life, depending on where you're at, not just, within your career, but financially, like what your portfolio looks like. I think, again, that's going to be a little bit more nuanced and tailored to each individual. But when we're talking about those people that are just getting into it or just coming up to a point where they might have the opportunity to get in, really trying to highlight those advantages versus, just sitting on the sidelines and like you say, like, just, keep my cash flow as it is and whatnot. And we get that. We talk about a lot, or, with clients all the time, the sort of pros and cons of rent versus buy, or owning versus renting, and there obviously are pros and cons for both. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've both rented in the past, back in the day. Hard to remember now, but it was great when something broke. Being able to just call whatever the number was and say, hey, my AC's broke, come fix it, and not have to stress about it. But at the same time, if I needed access to a large amount of cash for relatively cheap and quite easily, it's not like I was pulling from all that rent that I'd paid into that property. So I mean, again, like, that's obviously like simplifying it, and we'll dive in a little bit more, but I think it's more towards these people and sort of educating them on what their options are. I mean, to be fair, like, as a younger renter, like, a lot of this stuff I didn't even know. So I think it definitely just kind of helps shed a bit of light on why people go this route when it comes to building wealth, for sure.
And touching more on the rent piece that you're bringing up, like, oh yeah, it's you don't have to pay for anything, this, that, or the other. I'm not even going to pull the liner of like, well, you're paying somebody else's mortgage.
But you are.
You are. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like it can feel like a tired line. We're like, all right, whatever. But like, I can just leave whenever I want, and they're stuck with the bill. Like, yes, but what I don't think people realize is when you do own something like that, yes, something does break. This with anything like owning a car. The difference between a car and a house, though, is if your AC goes out, when you put in a new one, your house value, or it is not your house value, but the return is usually an average of 1.5% or 1.5 times what you paid for. So let's say you paid $10,000. I mean, you're looking at a $15,000 return. So they're real financial benefits, and the short-term pain of, oh my God, I have to put in a new HVAC system, and sometimes more things spread from there. But if, let's just say, you bought a good, well-built home that has aging factors of it, those sort of things will, in the long run, play a benefit for you. So if you, like myself, for example, we're selling our house, we're under contract. We put in a new HVAC system, a new hot water heater. We completely redone the crawl space and fixed, replaced the roof. And that just, if anything, the buyer piece that they're like, with the buyer's peace of mind that comes from it is worth the financial investment, because, all right, now I don't have to do anything. We're seeing our return back on that. But the buyer now is like, all right, I don't have to worry about anything.
No,
like, I can just do the cosmetic things.
For sure. And exactly right. It's exactly that. Like, typically speaking, if you sort of work that in reverse, just to prove your point, when we do an open house, for example, which we do a lot of, and we have people walk into the open house, what are some of the first questions they ask?
Yeah.
How old's the HVAC? Yep. How old's the water heater? How old's the roof? Blah, blah, blah. So a lot of those bigger ticket items that, again, nice. If you're renting, it's taken care of. If you fix it during the time that you own that property, assuming you didn't buy brand new construction, right? You are still, like you say, you are going to add value though. Like, does it suck at the time? Sure. Your AC goes out middle of summer, sweating your balls off. 10 grand, yeah, that sucks. But you know now that you've reset that clock on the HVAC, so when you got to sell it, you have definitely added value to your house. So it's not like a complete loss.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And those are the right questions to ask for buyers. It's because when you start buying things and you're like, all right, how old is this? Cha-ching, cha-ching. Oh my God, that's more money. More money. So if it's taken care of, I think people, and it depends on who you ask, but some agents say, well, no, it doesn't necessarily make your home worth more. But I think people would be willing to pay more for things that are done, like with a new car and a used car. Yes, the used car is the smarter option because the depreciation's gone, and it's like, all right, this is only going to be here for 5 years. But people will pay for a new car because it's a new car. Everything's new. So the same respect.
And to be fair, like value is also just whatever anyone's willing to pay for it.
Anyway, right? So
I think whilst like maybe that agent might be correct in saying it doesn't like arbitrarily add any value to your house. Like it's not like because you put it in that it's actually more valuable. But like you said, that's valuable to a person who's forward thinking of like, well, I'm going to be in this home for 10 years.
No, absolutely.
And you just told me that AC unit has been there for 12. And we know they're good if you're lucky, anywhere between like 12 and 15, maybe 17 if you're like super, super lucky, but most likely not. Now I'm already thinking of the money I got to spend. So yeah, it is valuable to that person because that person doesn't want to have to do that.
100%.
So like, yeah, I mean, definitely value there.
Well, and let's jump into some data before we talk about the emotional and mental aspect of it. But let's talk about the data. So a study from the Federal Reserve on consumer finances found that homeowners, and this is national average, not DC, Maryland, Virginia, homeowners have roughly around $397,000 worth of a net worth compared to renters who have a $10,000 net worth. And before everyone starts jumping down our throats, well, I have a portfolio in my index fund of $1 gajillion. Like, no, this is for the average American who has a 9-to-5 job. So they bought a house for roughly $300,000 to $400,000 and have built wealth through it. Because as Dave Ramsey says, the net worth millionaires grow because the house piece becomes, because you take how much you've already paid into it and then how much is appreciated, which I think year over year is roughly anywhere between 3 and 5%. Could be,
you're bang on. I mean, we have the long-term average here so it's very, very long. You're going right from 1967 all the way up to 2026. So that accounts for like all the good and bad, in between there. And the average is 4.21%.
So that's fantastic. I mean, 4% year over year return, is what you want in a home. And it's not like 10% in your IRA or anything, but those are different investment vehicles. I mean, if
you also can't live in your IRA.
No, you can't. And again, just like anything with the stock market, like you see, the president says one thing or something happens overseas and stocks go down. And this is not a political statement. This is just, you see stocks because stocks are volatile and they will trend with it. Someone makes a comment about AI and boom, AI either shoots up or completely blows up. You never know. So I think it was the owner of NVIDIA a while ago said something about how AI is going to do this, that, and the other, and all the AI stocks completely crumbled. So there's so much that plays into it, but at least the dependability with home ownership is there, and it is proven to be there every year. So I think it's a powerful tool financially, and I'll let Jonathan touch more on this, but leveraging how you use your money to then get all the, the investment bros who are like, well, I'm going to leverage this, that, or the other to maximize my wealth.
And I mean, and the thing is, like, we talk about leverage, and you're right. Like, there are obviously other ways that you can leverage different investments. But generally speaking, I would argue that this is one of the simplest, not just to do, but to understand. And like we just touched on a second ago, you're leveraging an investment that you can live in. So it's kind of a twofer, like anything else we talk about, whether it's a type of account, a stock or crypto or like gold, like whatever it is. I mean, gold's pretty, I guess you can look at it and play with it, but like they don't do anything for you other than make money, right? This you actually get to live in and call it a home and like have a place to go and sleep and eat and do all the things, and still have this giant asset that you can leverage for other things. And I think that's the part people miss. It's really it should be a no-brainer. You need to live somewhere anyway.
Yeah.
So why not make it, work for you more than just, like you said earlier, like pay someone's mortgage and just throw the money away?
No, absolutely. No, and here's the thing too. If you're to sell your home, you don't get in trouble. There's no such thing as selling early. I mean, yeah, you might get a short-term capital gains tax, but if you're to sell your IRA early, you're getting what?
Oh my God! Yeah. It's nuts.
More than half of your money is
you're penalized, you're taxed. Like and obviously every account's different, so I can't give like just a blanket like this is the percentages. But like there is so many different things you're hit with when you try to pull that money early, right? Versus, I mean, look at you. You turned your house around pretty quickly. And it wasn't planned, but you had the freedom to do that.
Yeah.
Right? You bought it, you thought, oh, we're going to fix it up, we're going to make it a forever home, boom, boom, boom. Fortunately, things changed and, goals got bigger and whatnot. Yeah. You're like, all right, well, let's flip it and move on to the next one. Like, sweet. And you could do that.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing. Say, hypothetical numbers, you had $10,000 in your IRA. Oh, my God, something blew out. Now you're coming out with $6,000, your hard-earned money, but the government or the company who's ever hosting it is like, no, this is ours now.
Yeah.
And like, what makes that fair? Where yes, there's property taxes and other things with homes, and we're not tone deaf to those things, but I don't have to keep paying property tax, or I don't get penalized with more property tax when I sell. I mean, the short-term capital gains isn't a crazy amount of money, anyways. And then on the investment side, yes, you'll pay capital gains, but that's over what, $250,000 if you're single, and $500 if you're married. So I mean, unless you live in an area that has absolutely blown up, or you've owned the home for 30 years, that's not most people anyways. No, so you'll see modest increases. Yeah. And on the emotional aspect of it, to see people say, I have now changed the course of my family trajectory because I own something that's tangible, that you can pass down, you can do all these things with. There's more to it than just I'm just going to build wealth from it, because I think we've become so focused on how am I going to build wealth, because you see all these people, I have this portfolio and I invested in these, or I got rich off crypto and all that, and it's like, you either missed the boat, because Bitcoin is trading at 70,000, 80,000, I don't know what it is, but it's a high number.
I mean, it's
and, or the Tesla is now at like $2,000 a stock or whatever. Some people missed out on that boat, but you can borrow money from a bank at a reasonable percentage, put down however little skin in the game the lender will allow, and then you can see that grow from there. And when you pay your mortgage payment, it's only going back to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the best part, right? Like, it's at the end of the day, it's going up in two areas. Like, it's going to, we talked about 4.21 being the sort of average. That's happening every year, and you're paying the balance now.
Yeah.
So like it's just growing and growing and growing. And again, I understand the reluctancy sometimes that like, I'm going to be stuck with this giant debt. Like, and I think that's another group subset of the sort of first time home buyers that look at it that way too, and they're like, oh my God, but I owe $0 right now. Like, I'm going to buy a house and I'm going to owe hundreds of thousands, and it scares the shit out of people, and I get that. But I think when you break that down and say, so look, not only is this like a very normal thing, and this is, unless you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank to buy your first house, like this is the only way.
Yeah.
And look at what's actually happening though. Like it's pegged to your asset. You need to pay that debt, sell the asset.
Yeah,
like, it's right there. So not as scary as it sounds.
No. And here's the thing: this isn't us advocating just to go buy a house, dangerously. I mean, don't go out and just recklessly go buy a home. There's a lot of things.
You call us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. we're reckless too, and we'll dance, we'll have fun. But you don't buy something recklessly. I think people like buy stock sometimes and they just throw a handful of cash and just hope for the best.
Or the FOMO stocks.
Yeah.
Bro, GameStop, let's go.
Yeah, really.
Remember what was that, like 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, when those sort of things happens, they make a movie about it. I mean, the only real movie that I think I can remember about real estate is The Big Short, and that was just because it was a financial crisis.
Christian Bale, yes. main character, Batman, Christian Bale.
Was it Christian Bale? I know Steve Carell is in it.
Either way, fucking amazing.
Yeah, great movie, and they talk about what happened and why it happened.
Yeah.
But when those sort of things happen, it's a phenomenon. Like GameStop and all that. What if we do this? I'm like, okay, you're trying to time the market at that point.
Yeah.
But I lost where I was going with this, but you figure out, all right, I'm not going to buy a home wreck, so it's like any active investment. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, I'm going to plan for this. Mm-hmm. I understand that these might be my costs, and then you have a game plan for that. I think too many people jump into home ownership like, well, I need to buy a house because societal pressures or whatever.
Fortunately, though, and I think that's where you were going as far as like the reckless nature of some people's purchases. I don't think it's something you can do recklessly.
Yeah.
Realistically, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you can obviously do things, that you maybe shouldn't. Mm-hmm. But if you have been fortunate enough to connect with people that know what they're doing, mm-hmm. I mean, one of the things that I always say to a client, regardless of price point, first time home buyer, whatever, when we set up the file at like the pre-approval point, I will obviously go through everything, but one of the things we touch on is what their DTI is, what their debt to income ratio is, and where that falls on the scale of like what's allowed.
Yeah.
Right. So typically, I mean, obviously nuance and there's other things, but like typically you can go all the way up to like 50%, mm-hmm. right? And VA you can go past that, right? I don't think anyone should do that, right? And that's a conversation that a decent lender or depending on how involved the agent is as well, or financial advisor, whatever, CPA, like that's a conversation you should be having. Mm-hmm. You should be like, right, Nick, we've got your file in, mm-hmm. we've like, dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. If you go buy this house, your debt to income ratio is going to be 48.
Yeah.
So we're not going to buy this house.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to look at, and obviously up to you. But I think most people, when they're presented with it like that, they go, holy shit, like half of my money is going to go on my house. Mm-hmm. And bear in mind, we're qualifying you off gross, not net.
Yeah.
So it ain't half. It's like 2/3.
Yeah.
Well, I'm probably exaggerating, but like it's more than half.
No, it's a lot.
So a decent person will have walked you through that and said, so no. So again, back to the reckless point, if you've been fortunate enough, it should be a very calculated, methodical, mm-hmm. like step-by-step process, so that by the time someone finally drops those keys in your hand, you are not stressed. You know exactly what you've gotten yourself into. You have a plan, and you know how it's going to go from there.
Absolutely.
That's the hope, right? That's the hope for sure.
No, and I think what makes for anyone buying, what I don't like is being called like a real estate salesperson, because a salesperson is going to try to sell you on anything. Yeah. Where I think we're like Jonathon and I, we're advisors. I mean, we would rather not have the sale to ensure that someone didn't make a bad decision than just making someone or talking someone into making a bad decision. I've had clients who are like, I want to buy this, but like you're going to be at 51% DTI. It's going to be a really tight payment. But I still want to all right, let's really talk about this before doing it. And so like even condos, co-ops, I'm like, do you understand what you're getting yourself into? Like in DC.
And sometimes they still do say yes, right? Like for example, and I think we may have even touched on this on the last episode, but we had a client, if you remember, back end of 2025, that was buying a condo for his mum. But it was non-warrantable, so we couldn't use conventional financing, and we knew why it was non-warranted. There was critical repairs and a bunch of other things that went into it. So realistically, on the face of it, even though we had a path forward, which the client ultimately wanted to take, we made like triply sure that we were like, bro, but you realize that like potentially, even though we can get you into this now for mum, and I get it, she was the tenant. I mean, it made sense for them. But my point is, every single red flag along the way, we were like, yo, whoa, like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you're sure? And this is why I'm asking you. And so, again, I think it's just, if you have those advisors, like, it was not about the sale for us. It wasn't just a simple, like, oh, thank God, like, Jonathan's got a way forward. Sweet, got the deal on to the next one. It was like, we don't have to do this. Like, we can find you something else.
No, absolutely.
So, and I think that's kind of how we try to approach the situation, because if they're unhappy, they're just going to go out there and tell everyone how unhappy they are.
No, absolutely.
So, like, I mean, you have to advise. Like, it's irresponsible, and honestly, like, it's very short-sighted to just
go for the deal. And, tying this back into the home ownership is you could be setting them up financially to make a bad decision. And that's why I think having the right advisor is just like your financial advisor or anyone else should be giving you the right direction. Where one thing that I really liked that I heard was, we provide the data and the process, the client makes the decision.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
That's what we ultimately do. Is, I mean, we're not here to say yes or no for them. That's their job.
Yeah.
And so I think with the homeownership, all right, when we look at, hey, is this going to potentially make me money? And that shouldn't be their first thing when buying a home. It should be, could I see myself living here? Do I want to have memories at this place? Do I like this area? So on and so forth. But then it should be like, all right, how is this area appreciating? Like, if I wanted to make this a rental, what does that look like? And there's other things you can do with it, with your active investment, unlike, somewhere it's throwing money and then just hope for the best. This one, all right, I need to do it, but if I say do the kitchen, there is a chance of a return. If I do this at the other, or the location itself is just going to carry. I mean, you never know.
How often do we see that? I mean, especially when you look at the longer timelines. I mean, I'm relatively new to Virginia, right? I say relatively, but I moved here in 2017, 2018. And I originally was renting in the Mosaic area, right? Great area over in Merrifield, lovely. The amount of people that I met in my first sort of 6 to 8 months here, that have obviously been here for a long time, be like, oh, this used to be an industrial, like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, and now there are $1.3 million townhomes on the back of Mosaic. Like, so what probably used to cost, like, peanuts to live in what that used to be.
Yeah.
Like, and you never know, but if you have people, more so on your side, obviously, tracking what areas are doing. Like, I mean, Jesus, like, you can get into a great area before it's great,
No, absolutely. And I mean, like, going back to, this isn't more like boomers, like, oh, well, boomers really like benefited, but there's real stories of people who say bought like 2019 and then see a 300, like, the transaction we were talking about 2 weeks ago, where my clients wanted to write on it, but it went $300,000. That's on the buyer side. Now imagine on the seller side, $300,000 more extra dollars in your pocket. Now this is not everyone. This is not getting your hopes up and saying I could make $300,000 extra dollars because it went over. No. But again, $25,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah.
$10,000. I mean, from the sale, once everything clears, that's real money in your pocket. Or you can leverage for other financial aspects, like some people with real estate building. Hey, I take the home, I take the equity, I borrow against it, and then I go invest it into a duplex or another, like a condo, a single family home, and just build a portfolio that way, and leveraging your equity properly.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things you can do that gets you out of a pinch in a medical emergency or whatever. You can use that, and yes, it obviously takes time, but it's better than maxing out your credit card. At 27%.
Always. Always. I mean, people. I mean, even in a pinch, and this is obviously like. That means you've come to us or the financial advisor that in this hypothetical probably a little bit too late or after some mistakes have been made, but we've seen clients and helped clients through them just restructure their debt.
Yeah.
Right? Because at the end of the day, assuming you qualify for a HELOC, which if you've got a mortgage, most likely you will, assuming you've not made some really, really bad decisions, the interest rate on your credit card and or personal loan is going to be higher than what's on your HELOC.
Yeah.
Right. So if you use that equity just to restructure your debt.
Yeah.
Not to mention HELOCs are typically set up where you can do interest only for a certain period of time before you have to actually start paying it off. So either way, I mean, it just gives you options, man. Like it really does, that are just not available to you if your asset's not real estate.
Yeah. Now, here's some, I guess we should maybe touch on the downside of potentially owning. Obviously, there's the cost.
There is no downside. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's all up.
Always good, always going buy.
And this is where Nick's going to edit a little image of that house from Up that floats with the balloons. Right.
We'll figure out how to do that. We'll ask chat or something. The median age for homeownership has gone up. Drastically. I mean, obviously, home prices have gone up, but salaries and income have gone relatively flat. We've seen a lot of fluctuating interest rates. Some markets perform better than others, like DC, Maryland, Virginia. I think we're pretty fortunate that we live in an area that. But there's also those higher costs of living and things like that. We may see higher returns, but it also costs more to live here. There's some areas that are hurting right now, like parts of Florida. We're seeing tons of inventory because people are leaving now. I don't know how the Midwest markets are. Some may be better than others. But again, sometimes it's now harder to get in. The boomer generation owns a majority of the properties, and so a lot of people are being priced out because there's money that they have that we, the millennials, Gen Z, Gen X, don't have. So a lot of money comes from parental support, like we've talked about. It doesn't necessarily, not everybody has that possibility or opportunity to utilize familial money to.
But we do see a lot, though.
We do see a lot, but for those who are like, well, I don't have that, it's tough. But that's where you then turn to an advisor, like, how do I make this a reality instead of just getting pre-approved? Like Jonathon can walk someone through, like, all right, here's what we're going to do to lower your debt and raise your savings to be able to buy a property.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I touched on it earlier, and I probably shouldn't call them mistakes. Like, people, I think, they don't. They know what they're doing. They're doing it because they have to, right? When they take on some of these like higher interest debts, but we can do that like right across the spectrum. This could just be a kind of like financial checkup, and obviously I have to look at everything because you're trying to get a mortgage, so I can see stuff and be like, hey man, like, what's the interest rate on this, and what about this? What about this? What we can like swivel things around. But even if it's way beyond that, and we're at a point where we're not qualifying, and more needs to be done, then we have referral partners that will actually coach you through your finances from a non-qualified, like from a mortgage standpoint, from an absolutely not, we couldn't qualify you, to a point where you're financially a lot healthier and you can get that approval as well. So like regardless of where you fall on that spectrum, and I know it can be daunting sometimes, just start the conversation. You can always fix it with money. I mean, I say always, but like it might take time, and you might have to make some hard choices, but you can always turn it around for sure. Like, even without mommy and daddy just writing a big fat check.
No, absolutely. And I guess the last thing to touch on is, again, real estate is an active investment. A lot of people think, like, especially when it comes to like a real estate investing, that's passive income. Even your primary home, it's active maintenance, and then just ensure, like, obviously the payments and ensuring everything's going well. And when you have a tenant, it obviously is a lot more than that. So you're constantly having to put money into it to then eventually see it out. No house is just gonna withhold the test of time and just be good forever and be great and sell, because things are going to break, things are going to happen, and so there's this unexpected cost where renting, yes, you can maximize your cash flow and you can up and go, and you're leaving like a lot of the big time investment people like to talk about and how to maximize your money. But at the end of the day, like, whether what side you're on, there's I'm just going to focus on my investment portfolio and I'll rent and just move and go wherever and make sure that I can do that. But that doesn't work for everybody, especially people with kids and all that stuff. You can't just 100%. Up and go and do whatever you please. Like, it's cool to hear when you're in your 20s, and for those that it works for. But, for most people, hey, if I can have consistency and security and safety, then home ownership is one of the best options that you can look at.
Hands down. I mean, it's stood the test of time. Like, there is nothing more proven than how safe of an investment real estate is.
No, absolutely.
I understand, like you said, yes, of course, it comes with responsibility. It's not something you jump into recklessly, all the things we've talked about, but that's just not up for debate.
Yeah.
It just is that safe. Like,
no, absolutely.
And there are obviously going to be bad years, but as long, you don't lose until you sell. So
absolutely.
As long as you
Please turn off.
Did we do
surprise banter?
Oh yeah. All right.
So here's the question that we're going to talk about.
So it's probably a little bit late in the sense of, the timing for the actual event.
Dead, so keep going.
What's that?
This thing is dead. So that's
it's dead. All right. Cool. Yeah, no. So it's probably a little bit late in the sense of like the buzz around the event, obviously, because the event's over. But it has definitely come up in other areas before. So basically, Kirsty, I believe, maybe it's Christy, but I'm pretty sure it's Kirsty Coventry. She's the president of the IOC, so the Olympic Committee, right? This was maybe a month ago, 3 weeks ago. She made a comment in an interview essentially saying that she doesn't believe, and I'm paraphrasing, so if I get it not exactly accurate, don't kill me, but essentially she doesn't believe that the athletes should be paid. She caught a lot of shit for it, and I think for multiple reasons. I'll give my 2 cents and then we can chat about it. Firstly, I think outside of the big sports like hockey and because we're talking Winter Olympics just happened, right? Outside of some of those big sports where maybe it isn't quite as high of a barrier to entry to just participate, right? And obviously it's different country to country as well. Here, everything's insanely expensive. Most of those sports would be what you would consider like relatively niche. And again, depending on the locality of the country, right? Because I mean, figure skating's massive in like the US, in Russia, in China, Japan, but you go to like, you know, South Africa or Australia, or it's just not as big, right? So it really depends. And it can cost an absolute fortune just to get there, right? Not to mention, like, every federation's different, so not every organization has the money to give to the athletes. So some literally have to do, and still in the States for some sports too, but literally have to do like GoFundMes.
Yeah.
Just to go. Yeah. Like just to get to the event. So that feels to me that's very well known in the athletic community, especially for high level sports. Everyone's very aware of this. She's obviously very aware of this because she's an Olympic champion herself. She was a swimmer for Zimbabwe, I believe. So she knows that grind. She knows that struggle. Where it falls flat is the Olympics as an event must generate billions of dollars. Advertisements, this, that, the other, the merch, the tickets, like all of that. Where the fuck is that money going? Like you couldn't slide some to the athletes, like just a little bit. Like you just, no, we'll just keep all of that. Okay, well, that's not a great look off the bat. She was the recipient of funding when she was training, and the not-for-profit IOC, whilst her salary isn't listed, the previous president of the IOC, and I believe the salary was in euros, but it came out to something like $350,000 a year. So you've got someone who's working for a not-for-profit organization that oversees this whole event that happens every 2 years, because obviously you've got summer and winter, each time generating billions of dollars. She's getting paid, the athletes are not, and when she was an athlete herself, she was on the take because she was getting funded.
So it's an interesting.
It's not great, is it?
It's not a good look, but I think you also need to carve up, because that is a very vague statement. Should they be paid? By who? Is it the IOC governing body? Is it their own country's federation, like USA? You know, let's say figure skating or USA wrestling or is it brand deals? Because there's so many different avenues to getting paid. Because if we were to keep it true amateur athletics, no, they should not get paid.
And I was going to touch on that too, and that's a good thing to bring up. Like, yes, originally, part of what made you eligible to compete in the Olympics is that you still held your amateur status, right, as an athlete. So the minute you go pro, that's a no-no, and that's why sports like tennis, like golf, and others, they would give what is called prize money versus a salary for the sport that they're participating in. So that's fair, but that's also, again, there was already workarounds in place for that were happening in some sports versus others. And I think in this day and age where everything just costs so much, I think that's just unrealistic unless the training and stuff at the very least, like the cost of training and the logistics of getting to and from the competitions has to be covered.
Yeah, no, and I mean, like, being reimbursed is one thing. I get that. Like, all right, like if my training costs $10,000, yes, you should be able to get reimbursed up to that amount by however it does. Because like I know like the big thing was, and again, this is depending on who's paying, with like that what's her name from China, who represented who's American but represented the skier, whatever her name was. She's getting paid like $20 million from China. But like, should an athlete get paid $20 million from the IOC? No, I don't think so.
No.
Like if there's a reasonable payment, or if the IOC is able to reimburse their training costs, that's one thing. I think in today's world, since there's so many, everything is so muddy now, you can become a professional by, like, I mean, track and field has a professional league now in like Europe and other areas. So almost everyone's a professional athlete these days, and if you get paid to do anything or represent anything, you're basically a professional. I mean, it would be like I can touch on for wrestling, for example. It used to be, if anything, one of probably the lowest paying sports. There was no payment actually, but now with so many different avenues, athletes are able to get paid in different ways. They're like nonprofits, or companies will put them on payroll and say, hey, look, you're going to do this, or, you know, through reimbursement. But you were truly an amateur, like, all right, I have a job and I'm also training, or I have people who are supporting me by giving donations in a way. Sure. But, you know, you're not a professional like you would be in the NFL or NBA or anything like that.
No, for sure. And I think, don't get me wrong, like, I think that it's very complicated, the whole issue, right? Because like you said, she in the position she's in makes a general statement like that. And I think most of the backlash has obviously been from athletes. Right? Because again, like, only an athlete knows that struggle. And obviously the family, but like, you know, only people involved at sport at that level, or trying to get to that level, truly understand that struggle and that financial burden. So to have someone who you knew was supported and is now getting paid an exorbitant amount of money, say, oh well, they shouldn't be paid. I think it just, again, it was more that it was tone deaf than it was just completely wrong. You know what I mean? I think, like you say, for sure, when you slice it up, there's obviously nuance to it. But I will still say, though, that regardless, because of course, like, there is funding that comes from different organizations, as we've touched on. So I'm not saying there's no money going to the athletes at all. It's not enough, but there are avenues and different you know, scholarships and programs from not just international governing bodies, but the national ones. And even locally, I think like Fairfax County, for example, has like some random grants that you can apply for and whatnot. But my point is actually kind of similar, and maybe you can talk more to this, to the whole paying college athletes. At the end of the day, like, what makes the Olympics money is the athletes. So for me, not only the grind that they have to go through just to get there is very hard, financially very difficult for most. This kind of just feels like exploitation, to be completely honest. Honestly, like, fuck your amateur status. You're making billions of dollars, and I had to crowdfund just to get here. Right or wrong, it's tone deaf, it's stupid, and you wouldn't have this money if it wasn't for us. So you should, at the very least, be covering the cost, but a reasonable amount of money for the time spent at the games. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, some of these athletes, like, didn't even know they were going. Like, I mean, they qualified obviously, but they didn't even know if they'd be able to go because they didn't have enough funding to go.
Well, I mean, look at a lot of these countries, especially smaller ones, and like, you know, that may not have money. Like, if you're looking at the Democratic Republic of Congo, if they had an athlete, how are we gonna send it? How am I gonna go? But like, you know, you have countries like the United States, you can send anyone and everyone because they have the ability to. You know, I think federations and, you know, associations need to do a better job of taking care of the athletes at that top level. Like, I can tell you, for example, USA Wrestling, the top, if you're on the national team, you get I don't even know if it's the national, I think you have to be the guy on the world team. You get health insurance, and that's like a big deal because a lot of time wrestling is what you're doing and you're not working, or you may have like a part-time job, or however it is. But, you know, they're bringing in like tens of millions of dollars. I know that it's got to go to a lot of other things, but when your top brass, who are essentially self-appointed, are walking away with $250,000 a year and then going at all these events for free, like, that's money, like discretionary funds that could be used to pay athletes 100%. Or more athletes or create more opportunities to make money to then give to the athletes. Because at the end of the day, the athlete is representing, and again, I think this, for top athletes, yes. I mean, up and coming or ones who are like on the cusp. Maybe
I mean,
not,
it's got to be tiered and it's got to be appropriate, and obviously that is a very hard thing in itself to figure out. Like, how do you do it fairly? Like, what's the ratio of, like, do we give more money to the more popular sports, or do we try and look at realistically like what we want to grow and try and inject more money there? Or I mean, there's I wouldn't want it to be my job. No, what I'm saying, like, it is very complicated, but just blanket no money. When it generates this much revenue and you actually pay the people that run it, again, tone deaf at the very least. Definitely cause for concern and question and pushback on, like, hang on a minute, like, I mean, it took forever with the college sports to get that through, but eventually, like, and I agree. I mean, you would, how true they are, I don't know. A lot of stuff gets put on the old telly box, and Netflix do a doc on it, and all of a sudden it's like a Hollywood freaking Oscar-winning drama. But you did see these stories and multiple documentaries and films, how you've got these young athletes aspiring to go into the NBA, the NFL, or MLB, whatever it is. Can't even get enough calories in them to keep up with the training that would be required, because they have so little money. Whilst the team is like, I mean, the head coach for one of the, like, college football teams is probably getting paid like $1 million a year or more. And again, like, that's me. That's my little British mind not knowing much about these sports. But that's my point, though. Like, and the fact that it's more than that is even more fucking insane. Which is why ultimately it changed. No, right? Absolutely. I don't think college football is obviously exactly the same as the US, but I think there's elements of similarity there between, you have this thing that generates a shit ton of money, and then you have the thing that's generating it. I know there's marketing and coaching and all the other stuff, but generally, like, that doesn't exist without the athletes. No, absolutely. And they're the ones not seeing any of that profit.
Well, and here's the crazy thing. Before the NIL thing came in, scholarship athletes weren't allowed to have jobs.
Which is
wild. And they had to stay on the school funding. So you couldn't go get a job, because sometimes scholarships didn't cover everything.
Of course.
So you couldn't get a job, and so if you didn't have any money, you couldn't go out to eat if you needed to eat, because the cafeteria was closed. So they were stuck with cafeteria food and barely being able to eat. So a lot of athletes were struggling. And yes, we're giving you like an education, all that stuff. But, like, all right, like, what good is that if I can't maximize the time? Because at the same time, I'm also generating the school money. Like, so LSU bought out Brian Kelly's contract when they fired him. It's like $40 million buyout. I mean, it's like, all right, you have $40 million to spend, and the state's going to give it to you, but to give a kid, say, $10,000, this is a Division I level, like, at the highest level. So let alone Division 2, 3, and all these other programs, or like amateur sports. Like, I can't imagine what figure skating athletes in the United States are getting paid compared to maybe Japan, China, or Russia, where it's,
I mean, I mean, Russia obviously kind of an outlier in the sense that, and again, not being political here, just being factual, that the government does fund. There's quite a lot of funding that comes directly from the government for sports. Right. I'll leave that at that. So that is very different. Here, that's just not the case, obviously. And whilst, yes, I can speak a little bit more specifically to figure skating in the UK and obviously in the US, I know the federations do have some funds allocated to give to, again, up to them how they dish it out, but from the guy, girl, team, and down, and however they want to distribute that, they do that. But it's nowhere near enough. It's not enough for the people at the top. And oftentimes, the person at the top, when they finally get the funding, I wouldn't go as far as to say they don't need it. They definitely do, because the sports are expensive. But it would have been really nice, and I might have got here sooner if I'd have had it when I was down here. So looking at, like, your sort of very, like, low level development, mid, and so on, and kind of spreading that out. So it's never really enough.
Well, and I know we might be pulling away from the initial question, but I think it plays into where I'm going, is sports now are becoming increasingly more expensive, and it's becoming more unattainable to play sports. I was watching just an Instagram video about how like AAU basketball is like it's like $400 for jerseys, and then it's like $1,000 for travel, and they're doing all these things. So now all these kids are being left out, and so going to the greater picture. All right, if I have money already, then I can do it. So getting paid doesn't mean anything.
Oh, very much so, and it is not. And this is not like an anti-America comment, but that couldn't be more true here than most places, right? And honestly, like, one of the reasons why we're even here, right? Because obviously with our background, we originally came here for coaching, and that was a calculated decision. That was where will I get paid the most for my skill set, and it's here. But that means that cost is then pushed onto the participants. So like, great when you get a job in that field, like. I mean, figure skating coaches do not make the same as like college football coaches, but my point is, like, when you're on that side of it, sweet.
Yeah.
Right? But that gets pushed onto the participants. I mean, like, I can speak to skating in the US, and then obviously figure skating when I was doing it in the UK. I mean, full-time athletes today, their parents it's more than a mortgage payment for their kids' training. And to be competitive, just to have a shot, I mean, you're doing that from a pretty early age. Like, before you know, like, I wouldn't say before you know if there's a shot. Like, I mean, hopefully the coach wouldn't just grab the money and would advise properly. But, I mean, from a very young age, you're talking from, like, maybe, I mean, they're going to do less in the beginning, but anywhere between sort of, like, 7 and 9 is when they'd be like, you know, now, okay, we're committed, we're all, that's a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
And like a Northern Virginia mortgage payment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, not like
schools developing.
It's insane.
Just to be athlete first, student second.
It's insane.
And for the grander picture, again, you know, money means more in brand dealers, and the gold medals mean more. I mean, a gold medal means a lot to everyone. I'm not taking away the worth, but when you're making sports unattainable now by those who don't have money, yes, I mean, athletes to a degree, depending on where it is, not like every youth athlete should get paid, but like, if I have a real shot of making it to the Olympics or a world championship or something, I think either the federation or, I mean, yes, corporate sponsors could help, but at least let's just start with the federation, should be paying athletes at least something, or covering costs to a degree that they can, because now, again, I don't know what like USA Cycling has in terms of funding.
No idea, like we didn't
like,
pull all this
again, if it's like, if I have $1 million and I have 10 athletes, okay, once all the you know, the money that needs to be used for facilities and this, that, or the other are covered, whatever is left, because again, they all have to be nonprofit, should be going to the athletes. I agree in that sense. IOC, I think it's a separate run business, and that I think it's just an organizing body. And yes, her comment are tone deaf, and if she was a beneficiary from the IOC directly for, you know, doing this, that, or the other as an athlete, then it's a gross statement to make, especially.
And sorry to cut you off, it was also, and we won't spend too long on it because I know we've rambled enough, but it was also conveniently timed, or inconveniently timed, should I say, because right after she made the comment, or before or after, within a very short window, the first enhanced games was happening, right? Which, for those people that don't know what that is, and again, maybe that's another video, but essentially, it's not mandatory, but it's allowing the athletes, I believe under the supervision of medical professionals, to take, you know, certain performance enhancing drugs. I'm not so sure they're just allowing themselves to like redline on roids and just go nuts, but things like peptides and other things that would typically be banned, they're allowed to use. Not my point, but just to like say why it's different. But the other side of that is, if the prize money is considerable, I'm probably misquoting it, but we're talking like hundreds of thousands. But I think even just participating, I think they got like 20 grand or 40 grand just to participate, right? If you break a world record, $1 million.
And see, those are the sort of things where I think the incentive, or like especially in the Olympics, if you break a world or Olympic record, I think that there should be add-ons to that, because it's not like it's
like
just,
UFC with like Fight of the Night or like what you know, like so many different sports have different like you say, add-ons, like little extras, you know, whether it's the MVP, man of the match, blah 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 blah, blah, whatever. Like in professional sports, if you get MVP, like I'm pretty sure the team, like there's bonuses, right? Like, as there should be. It's essentially we're essentially talking about performance-based bonuses, which are super fucking normal everywhere else.
Yeah, all right.
Like we get them, right?
Johnny brought up what 2% volume from last year in whatever job that he's in.
Yeah,
like to break a world or Olympic record is not normal,
bro. It's such like the percentage of people on the planet that get to ever call themselves an Olympic athlete is already so small. So that subset of people that get to say they broke an Olympic record or world record, dude, like, I mean, you talk like the probability of you being one, you probably got more chance of winning the lottery like 4 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like it's insane. For that to just be brushed past and not rewarded is nuts. And I think that's what the enhanced games saw. Yes, there was the medical side of it, which I think, again, maybe another video, because I think it's not as cut and dry as people would expect, or at least I don't think it is. But they saw that other gap of like, whether it's with the substances or without, these guys push their bodies to the absolute limit. To break records, for us to enjoy, for us to see, for our enjoyment, blah blah blah, for nothing. Like no incentive. Like literally, for people to say they shouldn't be getting benefit. Like that's kind of insane.
Well, and I think that's why people at the top of everything do need to be compensated. I mean, the NFL is compensated handsomely, and let's go on the professional, the business side of the world. If you're a CEO or a top producing whatever, you're paid to that degree. So yes, I think athletes, and I know it's amateur, but there's no amateurs anymore in anything. High school sports is there's almost NIL in that. College basically is a business now. Oh, it was a business, but like the athletes have to set themselves up as a business to be able to market themselves, to get money from corporate sponsors from the school that aren't scholarships. Because you're hearing like Carson Beck, who was a quarterback from the University of Miami. He started at University of Georgia, and then went to Miami, and he was the highest paid NIL athlete. He was making $10 million for that year. The average rookie contract for the NFL was like $2.5 million. Yeah. So like everything's a business now. So if athletes in a sport that is pretty much predominantly in America can make that much, and yes, the model supports that. But again, everyone tunes in the Olympics when it comes time, just like the World Cup. Exactly. They should be compensated for that. By who? Yeah. That's a different debate. Yeah. But yes, they should be compensated.
And the amount, of course, is representative of the interest, right? Because obviously, you're using. Firstly, no, but obviously, everyone who's watching this will be American. But like, nobody does college sports the way you guys do college sports. I mean, that's like you say. That is just nuts in itself. Cool, great opportunity for the kids, but like that is absolutely insane. But we're not talking that like, oh, so because that happens, I believe like an Olympic shot putter should get like $2.5 million. That's not what I'm saying. It'll be representative of the interest. Yeah. But because when it is something like the Olympics, which like you said, maybe not every event, there's definitely going to be favorites. Like, yeah, we're all tuning in to watch Usain Bolt, like, run at a gajillion miles an hour, but I'm probably not watching the breakdancing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but still something though, because it all falls under that umbrella, and it's that entire movement that everyone tunes in. Opening ceremony, closing ceremony, all the bits in between. It generates so much money, just a little something. Yeah. Just something. Like, I think that's unreasonable. And I think that's where the enhanced games, like, is gonna face pushback for sure because of the other side of what they're doing. I actually think that space is gonna grow. I really do. I think you'll see a lot of athletes because poor athletes are a thing. Yeah. And that just ain't right. Yeah. So you give a poor athlete a chance to be a wealthy athlete, or at least just an athlete that can survive. Yeah. I feel like you're going to see a lot of people towards the end of their career where they're like, I might not make it through another Olympic cycle and or World Cup run or world whatever. Pivot to that and be like, but here I could safely take some things that would keep me, I would be able to recover faster, like more longevity in the sport, and I can actually go out with a bang and make some money here. Yeah. And then go on to whatever's next.
No, absolutely. I think that's why people appreciate athletes who came from the bottom in terms of like 100%. Financial, well-being, compared to the rich one. It's like, all right, like you had everything handed to you and you got to work hard and do all these things, but you don't have to worry about What am I going to eat next, or this or the other? So yeah, I mean, and that payment would mean more, and I think the world would agree. Like, if this runner from, let's just say, like Kenya was able to make $500,000 because running is a popular event, from winning the Olympic gold medal and change his family trajectory, give back to where he's from. Yeah, I think there's more to it than just the actual athlete benefiting too. I think other places and people, like, again, like boxing, for example, like when Manny Pacquiao would fight, people would go nuts in the Philippines. Like everyone in the Philippines was Manny Pacquiao because he represented them. Yeah, and it's more like the United States. I don't think they would be able to name probably one or two. I don't think I could name more than one or two track athletes, but the ones who follow it, they agree. But like the United States isn't. Like everyone can name Tom Brady, like that's easy. But like Tom Brady to the rest of the world may mean nothing, but like to that one country, that means everything. So if that person can break free from the government tyranny that they may have or the poverty that they face or whatever, I think it also makes for a bigger impact societally, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, compared to just, let's say, the money side of it.
Yeah. I will say, and then we'll wrap it up because this went way longer than I thought, and people will definitely not be that interested in this subject. But I will say one other thing as well. The only other way, because we briefly touched on it, the only other way I feel like you could mitigate some of that financial burden that's put on the athletes basically from the get-go, from the minute they realize, like, I could be quite good at this, is back to what we talked about, some other countries where it's funded.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, properly funded.
Yeah.
Now, there is a caveat to that. Here, whilst, yes, it is a very, very big financial burden, but it's pay to play. Mm-hmm. So everybody gets to have a go if they want to, and if they want to use their money for that thing, right? In other countries, because it's government funded, it's a case of, like, you try out, just like school or anything else. Yeah. It's not a crazy concept, right? You try out, you are good enough this season, we will pay for this season, and then season by season, or whatever the sport is, match by match. I mean, I don't know how often, but obviously that wasn't the case in the UK. That can eliminate some of that. And that is also why you see some of these countries absolutely dominate in certain sports. Yeah. Because for whatever reason that's popular there, everybody gets a shot. And you are, if you think about it just from a success rate, you are giving yourself, as a country, a better chance at success if everybody gets a shot.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean everybody gets to have a go. Like I said, that's pay to play, and then you only end up with the people that can afford it. But it means we essentially screen the populace. You'd be a good wrestler. Oh, you've got no money? Don't worry about it. We got you.
Yeah.
We'll pay for it because we think you'd be fucking awesome. So that way you capture all of the talent.
Yeah.
Again, there are other things. I've avoided saying the country's name the second time, but there is some merit to that system. Yeah. Obviously, every system's flawed, and you can pick apart all the cons, but like that would also get rid of a lot of the need to pay the athlete directly.
No, I mean, other financial ways to
help them.
I mean, just covering costs. I mean, that alone goes so far.
Yeah, for sure.
So, well, I think we've got a long time. Why don't we wrap it up? Jonathan, I'll let you do the outro since I did the intro.
Bits and Banter, where Nick tries to make sense and I just talk shit. No, I'm joking.